Sure. So, I guess a quick background as to why we got into agri and food. Say, I'm not from this industry at all. Uh, I'm an automotive guy. I still am an automotive guy in my blood, and spent about 2 decades in that industry. But around 13, 14, when we had yet another recession in the industry, it became increasingly evident that that industry was a declining industry. Frankly, what would accelerate the decline, in my view, I may be wrong, is a combination of electric, autonomous, and shared. An electric, autonomous, and shared automobile is an appliance, and therefore it's no longer fun. So, however, that industry has tremendous amounts of skills, especially in supply chain management. So, we were looking at areas where that skill could be horizontally deployed and unlock value. And we are at that stage in our life where we also we not want to just unlock value for ourselves, but also create some positive externalities. Another thing the auto industry is associated is with negative externalities. So we said, why don't you pick an industry where there are positive externalities? Food was appealing to us because it was large, it was recession proof, and for an industry where demand is highly inelastic, it demonstrated huge volatility in pricing, which seemed to us a classic bullwhip, maybe in slow motion, but it's a classic bullwhip where information is not flowing through the supply chain and material supply is therefore not matching what the market demands, and which means there is a supply chain problem out there. So our that's really why we went into food per se. And we felt that, look, the industry, food and agri has been around for 8,000 years at least, as long as civilization existed. But it was organized a certain way in India because of the way it is, it is working, right? Our average farm size is 2 to 2.5 acres. An average farm size in the US is 400 and odd acres. We buy from 118 million landed farmers and another 120 million landless farmers. America buys from 20 lakh farmers. That's it. It's similarly on the front end, we have 6 lakh settlements, and we buy from 12 million retail outlets. America has about 20,000 settlements and probably buys from anywhere between 40 to 100,000 outlets, which means fragmentation in both ends, which necessitates multiple layers of aggregation, disaggregation, and so on. What's changed, I think, are three things. Like any good supply chain, is consisting of three things, right? Flow of material, information, and money. To improve material flow, I think the first disruption that India saw was the laying of all-weather roads. National highways, yes, but more importantly, rural roads, which means in large parts of India, we are able to access the farm gate much easier, and physical logistics predictability has improved. And we are seeing that physically. We are able to predict within plus minus 15 minutes, for example, in certain parts of where we operate. The second is democratization of communication, and the third is digitization of money. We felt that these three things were coming together, which makes it possible to evaluate an alternative model. That's really what we have attempted to do. And frankly, it hasn't been straightforward. We have had multiple learnings along the way. We have learned the difference between what the papers say and what is actually ground reality. We always talk about middlemen being a source of supernormal profits and the reason for the spread between the farm gate and the consumer. We realize that that's not all true. There are middlemen, and it's really the stacking up of multiple intermediaries and the losses thereof that cause the spread. And therefore, we realize that the problem is more complex than what people state. And therefore, we had to pick the area where we choose to specialize in, and that's really what we've attempted.
I remember there was a statement you made when we had last chatted, which has kind of stuck with me, where you had said, simply doing farm to fork will not be enough going forward. You need to get into the soil. Right. That's I don't remember what we had. Can you just throw a little bit of light on that? Because I think that will be interesting for sort of, just get some more light on.
I think I'll build upon what Thiru said earlier. The margin in this business is a little deceptive. It looks very seductive when you say that, I'm buying at 8 rupees at the farm and selling at 14 rupees. So wow, 48% gross margin. But a lot of the cost below the margin is inelastic. 3 rupees to 3 rupees 50 paise is the standard trucking cost from Nashik to either Bangalore or Chennai respectively. There's not much you can compress in that. So if you genuinely want to build sustainable margins and be impact focused, which is our mandate anyway, we have to go beyond that. So we have learned to shape ourselves as a soil to sale company rather than a farm to fork company. We engage with the farmers at the seed stage itself. We bring in the right partners who provide the right seeds. For example, there's a good variety of tomato hybrid seed that's been recently developed that gives improved yield. We test it out in our own little research station and then introduce it to the farmers and work with other startups to handhold the farmers through the process of agri the cultivation itself. We also have our own agri extension team called Outgrow, which is responsible for this orchestration. What that results in is, firstly, you are able to do simple things like better crop planning. You can stagger the cultivation so that the farmer gets a certain yield every day, which you are able to liquidate. Otherwise, the farmer, if they plant it in one shot and liquidate it in one shot, they are exposed to very high market price risk. So we are able to simplify that. And then, simple tools like intercropping, the right usage of the pesticides and fertilizers, etc., helps the farmer reduce their cost, improve their yield. And then we talk to the farmer and split the benefits. So it becomes a double bottom line, lever that we try and pull. So that's really what we meant by soil to sale.